Good
Okay.
evening, folks. This is Deb and Dave, and this is the Factivist Report. And tonight we're going to talk about some important things. Number one, Donald Trump's version of cancel culture, plus his attack on the Constitution and our legal system, all rolled into one nice, tidy little video. And here's Dave.
Hello, everyone. So, how many years have we been talking about cancel culture and the woke left and all of this stuff? We have never said you can't live your life the way you want to live it. As long as you don't affect other people, yeah, the whole pandemic thing threw everything out of whack because people were like, oh, you're making us do this, that, or the other thing in the name of public health. So that started the whole thing. But so anything that talks about people being different, about coexisting, all of that is canceled or like uh, boycotting something because they're racist, whether it be, whatever it is, Cracker Barrel or the Denny's or whatever the people thought was racist or had racist policies. Chick-fil-A is another one.
Anti-LGBTQ,
Right,
uh, Chick-fil-A is one. And I can't remember the name of the place that's the craft place. Hobby Lobby is another one.
right, right.
No.
So there's that. But Trump's version of cancel culture is anyone and anything that disagrees with him or tells him no, tells the pouty baby no, needs to be fired, needs to be defunded, needs to be kicked out of the country. Uh, that is Trump's version of cancel culture.
There's another component to this though, and I didn't talk to you about this before we went on air, but now that you started talking about this, I'm thinking about it. Okay, we talked about anybody being different, right?
Correct.
It goes right into that because as I'm working on a video about RFK Jr., what I've learned is that programs have been cut per Donald Trump's orders that are DEI. So they're no
Right.
longer funding research into people who have cerebral palsy
Right. Right.
it's a much deeper, much more poison than what people think. For example, he's taken down all the other languages that were on the White House website,
Right.
so it's only in English now. He signed an executive order saying that the nation's primary language is English. We've never had that in 250 years. Okay.
And
So
by the way,
the
the
rot is very
nation's
deep.
right. And the nation's religion now is Christianity. He has tasked a force to look into anti-Christian sentiment in, pardon me, in the State Department. This is where it starts.
This is the slippery
Okay.
slope, folks. This is where it starts. Are we going to have freedom of religion? Are we going to have freedom from religion? It's getting this is why I keep saying Americans need to multitask. You can't just focus on one thing that this guy's doing. He's doing it all.
Right. Now, I know people want to talk about tariffs and the economic hardships and all that. We're going to get to that. I'm probably going to do it next week, if not the week after. But there is a host of nightmare with this man. So I'm going to try to give you digestible bites. You like that word? Digestible bites in this thing, starting with him trying to silence the courts, lawyers, governors, and legislators, people in the arts. Does any of this ring a bell?
It should.
This this is fascism.
This is
I can't,
1938 Germany, is what this is.
right? Now, I'm going to start this thing with, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I know I say that, and sometimes I've fallen into the trap of reading the whole thing, but I'm not. I just want people to know that this is from Donald Trump's first, or like after he got out, maybe, or whatever, when wasn't as powerful, or when he blah blah blah, talking about, oh, this person should be fired because they said something I didn't like. This person, blah blah blah. Whether it be, oh, by the way, back in 2013, guess who? And everything comes around. Guess who Donald Trump wanted fired and never to have a job again? Bill Maher. Just saying. But so let's start this thing out. Oh, wait a minute. I did the wrong thing. Oh, there we go. So this is from CNN. It's a list of people and things Donald Trump tried to get canceled before he railed against cancel culture. So this is before he even became president, by the way. You know, a black journalist should be forced to resign for comments in which Torre uttered a variant of the N-word while talking about the N-Head Ranch. Remember that whole thing?
I do.
Okay, so a black man uttering that word should be fired. Really? Okay. Uh, Chris Matthews apparently said that he's glad that Hurricane Sandy happened because of its political impact. Now that's a stupid comment, but whatever. He asked people to boycott and cancel subscriptions to Rolling Stone because of a cover featuring the Boston Marathon terrorist, which, by the way, it was news. The hell.
Right.
Okay, so it's just a bunch of different stuff that he objected to and wants people to boycott or push to, and that's fine to use your voice to ask for something.
Yeah,
People, that's fine.
let me
But
interject.
now he's in power, by the way. Now he's in power.
Now he's in power, and this is what you see on social media. Just so you see how it carries over into the real world, okay? Constant, continual posts that The View should be canceled. Well, no, it shouldn't be canceled, okay? If you don't want to watch The View, change the goddamn channel. Turn on Fox. Do whatever makes you happy. But The View should not be taken off the air because they criticize Donald Trump and the GOP. Okay? I'm sorry. I don't like Fox, but I'm not out there every day saying that Fox should be taken off the air. I just simply don't ever watch Fox. I think it's garbage. So all of this nonsense about we don't like something, so we need to work to get it off the air. Now they're trying to cancel PBS and all of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, let's not this is crazy talk at this point.
Right. Now, Deb and I understand this too. Deb and I just did a short show saying, in our opinion, watch Brian Tyler Cohen and not Bill Maher. That's our opinion. We're not pushing for legislation to bar Bill Maher from the freaking airwaves. You are the ones that drive whether or not somebody's going to be on the airwaves or not, not the government.
You want him taken off the air. Don't give him any more ratings. That's one way to get them off the air. I mean, whatever.
I want to start with this: the 50 protests in 50 states, one movement. He's not going after protesters like wholesale yet, but I want people to understand this too. I don't care what this man says he's going to do. You keep going. All right? Yes. All these people who are saying, "Oh my God, he's talking about, martial law on the 20th." I don't know. Maybe I sit this one out. No. We are looking to get 11.5 million
Now, let me make a
people on the
comment
street.
about the 19th, though, so everybody knows what's going on.
Right.
In Boston, in particular, we'll start with that one. There won't be anything going on big, okay? Because that's marathon weekend here. There is not going to be a permit given out in the middle of marathon weekend. It's
Right.
already going to be crowded as hell. Boston's going to be impossible to access, okay? That's the first thing. But there are things going on in Concord, for example, because it is the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Lexington and Concord and the start of the Revolutionary War. So there is an action going on in Concord. I've been posting this on my social media site so people understand. The other thing is that 5051 also sent out a message on Substack that the goal is to, yes, continue doing what we're doing on the 19th, but in small ways. Because a lot of these communities, what they are finding out is they need more time than a week to organize for the next one. That's part of the problem.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
A lot of these places, you have to get permits to do this when the crowds are going to be 100,000 people. So it's different if it's 25 people gathering on Boston Common with signs. But when you're trying to get millions of people out at one time, a lot of these communities have said to them, we need longer to get things together than every other weekend. So what they're basically saying is, in between the big stuff, keep going with the small stuff, organizing your community, have get-togethers, stand out on corners, do small things. For example, the thing in Concord I believe it's on Monday, is an hour long at the Greens. So, again, keep going, and there will be plenty of big activities. I know the veterans plan on marching on Washington in May. I know there are things coming up, and we're going to try to stay on top of that.
And by the way, I will say this, you don't feel like you have to make every single one of these. I do also know that in April there are a lot of religious holidays and things of that nature. If you can't make something, it's okay. It's okay. But what I don't want is that this next one comes up and then the GOP talking heads say, see, they're losing steam.
Yeah.
No,
we can't do that. We had 5.2 million people on the 12th. We're heading for 11.5 million. We need to keep this thing growing. We cannot backslide, and we cannot. I firmly believe that Donald Trump filed that whole martial law crap on the first day he was inaugurated to create fear in us so that we wouldn't organize, so that we wouldn't push forward. So we have no reason to fear that. We have not had any violence at any of these actions. We need to keep on going.
I want people to understand it. It's in here. Most of this is about martial law in border cities. This is what he's talking about. He wasn't talking about the protests. So I want people to understand that he wasn't really talking about that. Now, can he ramp that up if we get, I don't expect us to have 11.5 this time, but it's okay. We can build up, and people also need to get used to going to these things.
Yeah, you do. Look, I'm going to tell you, it's infectious. Once you start going, it feels really good. And it was pouring in Boston on the 12th. And it was one of the best things that I ever experienced that day. I did not leave because of the rain. So it's, this stuff gets infectious as you do it. And we have a real battle on our hands. And yes, we have to go down a whole lot of different avenues, okay? We need to make phone calls. We need to do postcard mailings. We need to activate ourselves in our communities, help the homeless, do whatever we have to do. But we cannot make this happen without being on the streets. Nothing that's ever been accomplished in this nation has happened without that. Nothing, not the civil rights movement, not the anti-war movement, not the LGBTQ movement. Nothing has happened without being on, not the labor movement. Okay, not the suffragette movement. Okay,
right.
So look, Woodrow Wilson didn't give women the right to vote because he was a good guy. The suffragettes scared the shit out of him. They did.
Right,
You know,
right.
and this is, there's this magic formula. We have to get to 3.5% of the population on the street. So that's what our goal is. That's about 11.5 million people.
By the way, just because we don't get there, if we don't get there, this time we don't go, oh, well, that's it. The very first time I went to Garbarino or to my rep's office was April 5th. Now I want to go there again. Now I got decent places to go to eat. I know how to get there. I know where to park, all that kind of stuff. So, once you get comfortable, it's like, boom, you can do it. Uh, so let's start with Trump trying to remove judges, trying to remove all of that. Also, his war on litigators. Deb, I didn't tell you about this one ahead of time, but I'm gonna. An ex-U.S. attorney reveals key reason law firms are being targeted is two reasons. So Trump can get free legal advice. And so that these law firms, by the way, if these law firms start capitulating with Trump, you stop dealing with them altogether. Also,
It involves money transactions.
right. Now, what he's trying to say is that Trump wants these people to continue to perpetuate the lie that Donald Trump won in 2020. My God. The man has a reptilian brain. He won't stop.
No,
But
he can't. He hasn't stopped yet.
another thing, you're going to have these guys on retainer to attack other people who are telling him no. He's a big political pouty baby that doesn't like to be told no.
You should know this too. I don't think you do know it because I just found out about it myself. Um, Kamala Harris's husband, his firm cut a deal
Oh, I didn't know
with
that.
Trump. Now he's not the lead guy in the firm, and he opposed it. But
Right.
the law firm that he took himself out of that profession while he was the vice president. He did what he was supposed to do, okay, and he took a job teaching instead. But now he's back in the legal profession, and his law firm is a big law firm, the one that he's working in, and they have cut a deal. And I just read that for the first time today. I had no idea until today. And
Well,
he
we'll
was
see what he
totally
does. I
against.
mean, right. He has a right to leave,
Yeah,
just like, and you're going to start seeing that too. Just like in the press, the Washington Post, when they capitulated to Donald Trump, you're seeing high profile guys like heavy hitters leaving the Washington Post.
yeah.
You're going to see that in legal profession. And by the way, these guys could probably create their own law firms, just so you know. So those who leave these big law firms because of this, consider, if you can afford it, using them. Because not for nothing, a lot of these law firms, guess what? The third thing, they represent his opponents.
Right.
And he's trying to attack it that way too. So da, 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 da. Now I'm going to talk about this real quick. They're serious about Greenland. They want Greenland. Huge amount of land, not that many people on it. All right. A colonel who was stationed there, basically the head of the operation in Greenland for the United States. She stated opposition. Immediately, she was removed.
This is what fascists do.
One more thing the fascists do. We have to uh, we have to support the Maine governor.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So Remember this whole thing about funding is speech, money is speech? Well, Trump used funding, tried to use funding to to force the governor of Maine,
Janet
and
Mills.
I'm Janet Mills. Thank you. I was looking for the name. I was going to say that, but you know how I am with names. So Janet Mills, she's standing up to him. He froze funding to the Maine public schools.
For their nutrition program. So basically, let's stop some students to get you to do what I want you to do.
And the courts told him he can't do that. Let's see if he capitulates with this particular order, because he's not, by the way.
Now, let me just say this about the whole issue because I've heard some commentary, that uh, from some circles, not a lot, but enough for me to say it, that, you know, this whole issue is just about transgender kids playing sports.
No, it's not.
What Janet Mills said is it's not just about that. It's about who gets to make these decisions
Right.
on whether you can just cut funding like that arbitrarily without going through some kind of a process. It's who makes the decisions about this. And I did hear her say, if he's going to do that, then we will collect taxes in the state of Maine and refuse to give them to the federal government. So, she's not taking any crap, and we should be supporting people like her. This is what good governors do.
And by the way, remember what the GOP constantly said about states' rights. This is a state saying no. It's our right to determine law. Now, I don't even know how many transgender student athletes are in Maine, if there are any.
I really
That's
don't
a,
believe there are.
I don't think there are, but the whole point is you cannot tell Janet Mills or the state of Maine how to run their government. Okay, through an executive order. If he put in legislation, that's another thing. They're fighting all this in the courts, but the point is he is trying to silence her with funding. And now we're getting into the silencing of people in the arts, which is a lot about the DEI situation. So remember, Donald Trump took over the Kennedy Center, and he has this guy who is berating diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, what are you going to have? You're going to have a bunch of German soldiers singing a cabaret. I don't know. The arts are incredibly diverse. Anyway,
Not anymore.
not anymore
Not
right
at the
now.
Kennedy Center.
Right. Not at the Kennedy Center. But here, so, oh, well, we also have universities, with the DEI. He's pulling funding. Okay. Now, more than 50 universities face federal investigations. Now, the federal investigation, this is about affirmative action and certain scholarships and grants and things of that nature. And he wants to completely eliminate any affirmative action grants or any affirmative actions scholarships whatsoever.
That's unbelievable. It really is. Really is.
Because, hey, we don't have a racism problem in this country.
Yeah.
Ah, here we go. Or Deb's favorite asshole.
Oh God, I can't. This is the guy who spit on us outside of the out of the at the APAC dinner. We were protesting APAC. I don't know, must have been 2017, 2018. This is the guy that Alan Dershowitz came out of the hotel heading for the dinner. We were outside protesting, and he literally walked over to us and spit on us. It was amazing.
Right. So this is all about due process, all right? The Central Park Five are now called the Exonerated Five, just so you know, because they were. Okay. Alan Dershowitz basically said in here, and he basically cemented the point as to why due process is needed in the first place. Alan Dershowitz said, well, they're going to regret this because a lot of stuff is going to come up about their past, and they did some stuff that they shouldn't be proud of, or maybe they did. Some of them did. I know, maybe. If the whole point of due process is to find out who did what and how serious it was.
And by the way, if they got in trouble as youngsters, it has nothing to do with that whole trial. None of it. Okay? It's the kind of stuff you can't bring into a court of law. Okay?
Right.
So, you know what? Dershowitz is trying to smear them in his own small little way. And you know what? The courts have decided that that case can move forward against Donald Trump in spite of the fact that he's a sitting president, because it has nothing to do with his job, and it is a civil suit, not a criminal suit.
So remember, people were up in arms when Joe Biden pardoned some people. There were preemptive pardons because Biden predicted this. Trump orders investigation of two first-term administration aides who criticized him within his own administration.
Unbelievable.
All
First-term
right.
aides. We're going, the grandmaster of retribution. Okay? We're going all the way back to his first term to punish people. This guy doesn't have anything to do.
So now we're going to start getting into the whole immigration issue, which again goes to due process. And by the way, it's not just people in the entertainment industry, but this just, yeah, it shows where we're going with this stuff. There was a Canadian comedian, Jasmine Mooney, detained by ICE. She had a legitimate paperwork that Trump, it's just she had bad timing, I guess. Trump determined that that paperwork was no longer valid. So she was thrown into detention camp with no windows, blah, 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 because her paperwork was bad. Now, what do you think's going to happen? Many international music acts touring the U.S. no longer feel safe. We weren't confident with crossing the border. Now, you're also going to have, I think I have it in here, you're going to have people fleeing the United States now. Remember the whole boat people thing when people were coming from oppressive nations coming here in little rafts? Great Britain, the leader of Great Britain has said that there's a crisis because people are coming in rafts from the United States to Great Britain. So,
What I can also tell you is that the big LGBTQ international pride thing.
this is it right here.
Yeah, it's going to be in Washington D.C. this year, and many
Huh.
nations are warning. It's going to be in Washington, and many
Right.
nations are warning their LGBTQ citizens that they may not want to travel to the United States.
Right. Right. One more, and by the way, people were like, "Oh, Marco Rubio isn't as bad." Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Hold on.
He's horrifying, actually. He's a coward.
This is about the State Department is telling employees to report on one another for anti-Christian bias. Didn't we have freedom of religion?
Yeah.
Should be freedom from religion.
Right. By
I
the
mean,
way, this
you
guy
know,
here, he's an anchor baby. This guy's an anchor baby from Cuba. He knows what oppressive regimes look like, and he's actually creating one, helping to create one here in the United States.
okay, let's talk about the two high profile cases of immigration cases. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is a man who was deported for allegedly being a gang member. No due process. And the administration has literally admitted to making a mistake. But then, they're pushing back, telling the Supreme Court, challenging the Supreme Court
A nine to
on its order.
0 decision, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a unanimous 9-0 decision that this guy needs to be brought back here.
And now we're going to hear, I'm telling you right now, I already heard a little bit of it. Well, he's not a good guy. Show me the evidence in which it shows that he is supposed to be deported. That's it. I don't need smears of him. I don't need to hear about his outstanding parking tickets or, a video of him kicking a dog. We've all been through that. Deb's been through it. By the way, if you see this video of when she was recorded without her knowledge during a fight with one of her exes, don't bother. But the point being, this is why we have due freaking process. Because what's going to happen, this is just the indicators of that. What's going to happen is someone's going to speak out against Trump. They're going to get deported for no reason, for some trumped up nonsense. All right. Or somebody's going to bring something up or whatever that has no bearing for anything. And that's what this is about.
This could turn into a full-blown constitutional crisis right here.
Yes. And I I actually looked it up, Deb. No numbers for this administration, but for the previous administration, in like a short period of time, the words constitutional crisis in 2019 were uttered over 300 times. Let's wonder, how many times they've been uttered this first whatever
In
couple
the
of
first
months.
100 days, we haven't even
Right.
gotten to 100 yet.
Oh, here's another one. So a woman reported a crash. The Houston police called ICE on a woman reporting a crash. She was complaining that they weren't cooperating and they reported her to ICE. Okay. And that right there, again, is a little indication. You complain about the administration, they'll just deport you. One of the harsh reality checks is when, let's say, his caddy, his caddy is no longer available.
Yeah.
That's the harshest reality check for him. The
Now
harshest
he's
reality check
talking
is there's
about
no way that he's going to be able to do what he wants.
now he's talking about maybe not deporting hospitality workers. I wonder why. Right? Why? Because he employs them at his golf courses and his hotels. I'm pretty
Right.
sure that's what that's all about.
Remember that movie, the movie about the slaves who I can't remember the name of it, but they were waiting on basically serving white people, and this one uh maid became friends with a white person. But the point was it was the whole system of it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
We need immigrants. We
They
need
are
them.
part of the backbone of our economic system, no matter how you look at this.
One of the things that I noticed, I've read a few articles about it. I didn't put it in here, but one of the things that people are quote unquote happy with is Trump being, being tough on immigration. He's not being tough on immigration. He's just causing a big freaking ruckus. He's not being effective at all. And by the way, Obama was probably going to be more effective with immigration. The thing is, too, you want to know that this person is a danger. That's why you're going to take them out, not because they disagree with you. So, which leads to this. Mahmoud Khalil lost his deportation ruling, and he still has a chance to appeal it. And I'm hearing people who agree with this. Now, I have one question. Where is the evidence that this man is dangerous? Where he is, I don't know, like Enrique Torrio or whatever, or the
Mario.
insurrectionists. Torrio. Uh, well, he's a Palestinian, pro-Palestinian rights person, so he must be Hamas.
So
No,
what?
stop it.
So what?
But no, he
Showed any type of
first off, he's not Hamas. It's just the timing of that statement of me, and then you're doing so what? You have to show that he is a danger, that he has done dangerous acts, that he has committed dangerous things. I don't know, like maybe shooting people in the middle of the street, like freaking Kyle Rittenhouse. The ridiculous hypocrisy of this GOP. I mean, my God. Oh, this is another one. So we have an immigration attorney who, by the way, is a legal citizen, given a an email saying that she has to self-deport. It's another one. AP, the Associated Press, and yes, it's an Associated Press article, but I'm cool with it because they're saying the facts. Wins reinstatement to the White House events after judge rules government can't bar its journalists. Do you know why Donald Trump barred the journalists from the press room?
AP, by the way, is one of those news sources that has not bent the knee, and that is why they were banned.
Well, the specific reason as to why they were banned is because they would not say Gulf of America.
Right. By the way, there is one big case that we left out of this show. Ramesha Ostruck, the woman who was kidnapped off the streets at Tufts University in Medford.
I
For,
honestly, I wasn't even aware of it. I'll
okay,
take a look at it.
yeah, Ramesha Ostruck, she wrote an op-ed, I believe it was a year ago, in the Tufts University paper, and they literally kidnapped her off the streets, in the next town over from me. My cousins both went to Tufts University.
Well, what is how do you spell her name?
Rumeysa. It should come
Wait,
up really quickly.
wait a minute. RUM.
Meysa.
Got
Ostruck.
it. And by the way, guys, I know you're seeing this right now because I'm doing a search. Yes, I know that Stephen A. Smith is talking about running for president. Dear Jesus in heaven.
Yeah, let's pretend that's not happening.
Okay. Oh, I'll put that in there. Absolutely.
And they literally took her through several states, and she wound up in Louisiana. And it took a court case to get her returned to Massachusetts. I mean, they literally show her being kidnapped off the street right in front of Tufts University.
Who kidnapped her?
ICE.
Oh my God.
They were
But
mad.
this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Thanks, Deb. I actually didn't know, but this is the next step.
Now, this was a big part of the protest in Boston on the
Okay.
12th. There was a lot of conversation by the speakers about her, and there were a lot of signs in the crowd in Boston about freeing her. This has been a battle. It has taken weeks to even figure out where they took her. She was taken away. She wasn't allowed to see an attorney. And all because she wrote, I believe it was a pro-Palestinian op-ed in her college newspaper.
By the way, can we stop this? Just because you're pro-Palestine does not mean you're a terrorist. Jesus. Okay, one more, and I will be voting. I didn't get crazy into the whole voting thing, but yes, he's undermining votes. Votes are speech. I want this one. Okay, the SAVE Act, there were 4 House members that voted for it.
Democrats.
4 House Democrats that voted for this. I don't know Ed Case from Hawaii. The congressperson from Washington, I have had my voting crosshairs on her. I think we do need to primary her even before this. Jared Golden is another one, and Henry Quaylaw. And hopefully Henry Quaylaw will be primaried.
And hopefully Henry Quaylaw will be charged, and then we won't have to worry.
Charged. Exactly.
He's under suspicion for corruption, just like Menendez was. So
this is just a quick thing about the SAVE Act. I'm not going to get crazy into it, but I want people to understand this. This is not
video on the SAVE Act, and there's also a great video from what is now called Lincoln Media, which is basically the Lincoln Project.
okay.
And I'll make sure they're both in the references.
Well,
but let me just say this: the reason a lot of these people vote the way they do is because they're worried about getting reelected.
Right.
Because they're in tough districts. Well, you know what? That shouldn't be your primary concern, okay? Because the people who support the SAVE Act are not the people who are going to vote for you anyway. All right? So these legislators need to do the right thing. They need to do the right thing.
I want people to understand that. First off, we don't know how this is going to go in terms of who's going to be blocked from voting. Trump might actually be hurting himself, but I'm not going to, I don't know.
Well, here's what we do know. We do know that more conservative women change their names to their husbands' names than liberal women. That's number one. Now, what we do know is if you've changed your name and you're a female, somewhere in the order of 69% of women could be affected in this country. If you hyphenate your name, the percentage goes up into the 80s. So if you're already registered and you're not moving, or you don't want to change your party affiliation, you're all set. But say you move between now and the next election, you will have to bring either a passport, which half the country does not own, or a birth certificate with your birth name on it. If you've changed your name to your husband's name, they do not give you the opportunity to show that. You have to have your birth certificate, and that will have your maiden name on it. Which
is that? And do you have to have the original?
Yes, you
birth
do.
certificate? Okay.
Yes, you do. Which also
now,
affects, of course, which will affect my daughter who's transgender.
Right.
He's all set. We're not moving, but we're going to have a problem when we do get to that point.
to those Democrats who voted for this to protect election integrity from immigrants voting.
That's bullshit.
It,
There's already
it
protections in place.
right. There are already protections in play, and you are decimating potentially voters' rights here. People are calling this basically Jim Crow too,
And yes,
because you have to pay $130 for a way to vote. And I want to say this too, Deb. If you want to get a passport, I have no problem with that. You want to get a real ID, I have no problem with that. But with the passport, you know where you have to go, right? There are two places that I know of that really process passports more than anybody. Public libraries, and you have to find out to see if there's someone who can process them. And also the United States Postal Service. Not every post office has a passport clerk. You have to find out if they have a passport clerk. Now, with all the attacks on the post office, those resources may eventually dry up. I would do it now.
let me just say something about what it also the other people it affects, okay? Your real ID cannot be used. It's a
Okay.
birth certificate or a passport. This means military IDs are no longer are no longer legitimate. It means your tribal ID, if you're a Native American, is no longer usable. This is what we're saying here. Okay? It requires you to have either a birth certificate with your birth name or a passport. And as I've said, more than half the population doesn't own a passport.
Now, the passport, does that have to, let's say, uh, my wife, okay? Does she have to get a passport with the name so and so and not my last name, but her maiden name?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you realize what we're talking about here, guys? I mean, come on.
I mean, my daughter doesn't have a passport. So what am I going to do? I have no idea what the solution is for that. I have to call the Transgender Project here in Massachusetts and find out.
Now, understand, this hasn't passed yet. We have to bang the drum with the Senate vote.
Yes,
This
you, you call
cannot pass.
you call your senators now. And you know something? I don't care if your senator is a Republican, he needs to hear your voice or she needs to hear your voice. Okay? Because
And to the
because honestly, they have vowed to block this in the Senate. They will need 60 votes. They will need 60 votes.
right,
You need to make sure idiots like Fetterman,
right.
okay, don't
Alyssa
vote for this.
Slotkin,
Yeah,
who,
okay.
by the way, has voted for it in the past,
She has,
supposedly.
but Alyssa Slotkin, in all fairness, has been out there fighting. And so,
Right.
call her up, encourage her to not support this bill. Okay. This bill is nothing more than attack on people's voting rights. This is a solution to a problem that does not exist. There are already safeguards in place to make sure that undocumented people don't vote, and it is punishable by 5 years in jail if they are caught doing it. It is to nobody's benefit. It's not to their benefit to try to vote. It ruins their chances for citizenship. People need to understand that this is a direct attack on democracy.
Now, this is the Washington State House rep that voted against it. And or voted for it, rather, sorry. She voted for it to protect election integrity from immigrants. Now, does anybody read this bill? For God's sake? It didn't matter. I'll be honest with you. It didn't matter, but in a way, I'm glad that these four voted for it so that we now know. This, to me, is a deal breaker. They need to go. Those four need to go. Cuellar, as Deb said, is he under indictment now,
I
or is
believe,
he under investigation
I believe,
still?
I you keep talking. I'm going to look that up. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it's not good.
But oop,
Hi.
there's Ed Case. There's Ed Case. I don't know much about him, but I'm going to look at him too. So how do we fight this? Bernie Sanders. We have Bernie Sanders, AOC. We have Jasmine Crockett out there. She's not really stumping, I don't know. I don't think, but
Not
you
yet.
have not yet. We have Ken Martin, who's the DNC, along with David Hogg. We have Tim Walz, who's a freaking he's the machine right now. We have all these people out there.
Chris Murphy is on a bus tour.
Who is that?
Senator Murphy from Connecticut.
Senator Murphy,
Is
Chris
on a bus
Murphy.
tour.
So I'm just saying
By the way,
we are, yeah.
as of May 3rd, 2024, U.S. Congressman Henry Cuellar charged with bribery and acting as a foreign agent.
Oh, so he's been formally charged. Okay.
He's been formally charged. He should not be reelected under any circumstance anyway.
So, Deb, I just want we shouldn't worry about it, Deb. This is my final one.
Oh, good.
We'll get it back, Deb.
Yeah.
As long as there's not a nuclear war, we'll be okay.
Yeah, thanks,
Jamie Dimon.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Jamie, guess what? I know. And, not because of you, okay?
Look, we're only
Thanks,
gonna
Jamie.
we're only gonna be okay if we speak up and we fight against all of this, fight against
That's
Trump's.
exactly what Bernie Sanders said. Someone asked him the other night if he was afraid because of what he's doing on the road with AOC. He
Yeah.
said, "No, I'm not afraid, and I'm not going to be afraid." He says, "This is not the time to be afraid. Everybody needs to speak up now," and he's right.
Right.
You know what? The more you cower in Donald Trump's wake, the worse this gets. He needs to see that we're not going to take this shit. He does. No matter how you look at this, the best way to send that message is to be visible. And the best way to make sure that your Congress people and your senators know this is to use the phones, use the emails. Okay?
5 calls. I didn't put it in here this time, but we could do that too. 5calls.org. Yeah.
Let me show you something before we go off the air, okay?
Okay.
This is what I'm in the midst of right now. I have this is what I'm in the midst of right now. Right here.
Right.
The majority of Americans support, and it shows basically 74% support this. All right. I'm in the midst of doing this has to be dropped by the 1st of May. I am sending this. I have a bunch of old ladies writing postcards feverishly, and I'm doing the entire Senate.
Okay.
All right. That now we've broken up the list for the rest of the people to do the entire Republican Congress. So,
just an idea as we move along here, because I know people on Long Island that are, players.
Anybody
or
send it to governors.
Exactly. Well, we send it to those people as well.
Yeah.
Who are, like the Jessica Craven from California. We send one to her. Be like, hey, would you be interested in this?
Yes.
Or, Jess Piper in Missouri, or the social media guys. Would you be interested in this campaign? It's just an idea.
This is called the Majority Project.
Right.
This is what this card basically says. 86% of Americans support universal background checks. 74% of Americans believe in trans rights protections.
Right.
70% of Americans believe in safe and legal abortions. And 70% of Americans believe there should be a path to citizenship. These are not extreme ideas. This is our common ground. That's basically what that card says.
And you
And
know what?
and you don't
To
they don't tell you what to write on the back. That's entirely up to you. You can tailor your message to these people to be whatever you want.
so let's say you send one to Fetterman, okay? Be like, hey, does this sound woke to you?
Right.
Something like that. Or Shapiro. Okay. By the way, Governor Shapiro, his house was set on fire. I don't know how the extent to the damage. His family is okay. He is okay. But let's say something happens to a rep or a governor or whatever. We're thinking of you in this time. Please think of us as well.
Yeah.
Boom. That's it.
You
I
know,
hope you're okay. I hope your family's okay. Blah blah blah.
you're here to serve the people. Do your job. You're here
Right.
to deliver on the will of the people. Do your job. This stuff, all of it has to be in the mix. Okay, it has to be in the mix. This is why I keep saying learn to multitask.
Or
Letter
time.
to the editor of your local newspapers.
Right.
You know, that stuff is powerful. You know, in Boston, after the protests on April 12th, the Boston Globe was flooded with letters to the editor about how poor their coverage was of the sheer volume of people that were in Boston. They were downplaying the numbers. There were 100,000 people in Boston out on the 12th of April. And we're a blue state.
Right.
Okay. So, the Boston Globe got a lot of letters to the editors. That stuff really does matter. And it doesn't take
Especially
time to do that.
es- especially now when, and again, I'm going to reiterate, these papers and these outlets, they are a business and they will be affected by threats against their existence
By the way,
from a fascist president.
The Boston Globe has a
Yeah,
page in the Boston Globe that tells you what you need to do to send in an op-ed. Sit down and write an op-ed. See if you can get it
nice.
published.
Deb, send that to me. I'll put that in there. And another thing, let me see if I have it. It should be here. I didn't see it before.
Local papers, even small papers. If you're on the North Shore of Massachusetts, the Salem newspapers, the Amesbury newspapers, wherever you are in your community that has little local newspapers, people read those papers.
By the
Okay.
way, the Center for American Progress. Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Deb
great,
sent me this. It's great.
it is
Now,
great.
the right wing has their have their think tanks. Okay. We have ours. We have the Brookings Institute and we have the Center for American Progress.
The Brennan Center is
The
good
Brennan
too.
Center, thank you. That was the other one. Now, the Brennan Center is
More legal.
legal. Yep, is law-based. And right now, we need that.
Right.
We need the law. Once the law falls, that's it.
You
We're
know,
done.
we did forget one in the short show. We did forget one place that we should tell people to go to. So we're going to do it right now. You need to make sure you put a bookmark on the ProPublica website.
Oh, absolutely.
ProPublica is phenomenal. Okay. It is phenomenal. And Mother Jones is phenomenal as well. I've been reading
By the
Mother
way,
Jones since
the
1970.
the Daily Beast,
Yep.
Rolling Stone,
Yep.
when Donald Trump, I don't know for what reason, but Donald Trump told people to stop reading the Rolling Stone. There's a reason. Uh,
Rolling Stone is a lot of music coverage, but when they cover the issues, they do a great job covering the issues.
and in the brink, uh, jackass Steve Bannon, he actually was seen behind the scenes, by the way, not promoting them, but he was seen reading the Daily Beast and going, "Oh God, that's actually might happen. Let me talk to whoever he was talking, Roger Stone or whoever the hell he was talking to."
Right.
They're credible.
They are.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have more of those little short shows about the press and what the press should do and what they shouldn't do. I think that the more, and by the way, the letter to the editor, and when when we have the hands-off rallies and things of that nature, uh, they want people to speak up. I've spoken up a couple of times about um, not only my being different and being neurodiverse, but my involvement in unions and my involvement with the United States Postal Service. So people want to hear your stories, and also that it's not just about you. These are systemic attacks,
They are.
mostly because they don't fall in line with what exactly what Donald Trump wants at the time.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you guys again, the Greenland, and I didn't really get into it, but the Gulf of Mexico, Panama, all that. He's serious. I want you
Because
to understand he's serious about this stuff. I mean, and I know back in the day we used to talk about invading Canada. All right. By the way, within the next show or two, I know I have a source, but I'll probably save it for the next one. Donald Trump admits that the whole tariff thing is a racket. It's a way to make money. It's a scam. It's open corruption. He actually said it.
he made $900 million that day. He made
Right.
$900 million. And he made his buddies very rich. There's a video out there that shows him bragging with all the billionaires in the Oval Office with him.
Right. And I don't think he realizes that people are paying attention because the Democrats are looking to uh they're looking to come after him for that
They
and
are.
investigate him and potentially impeach him. And by the way, what he did with the tariffs that day is not in conjunction with his job.
It is not.
So you know that. There are also there are rumblings about uh, competency hearings and stuff like that, the impeachment hearings, all of that. Now, please understand that the system has guardrails. The system is slow and plotting for a reason so that someone like Donald Trump can't just say, okay, well, we're going to do this. We're going to, or the GOP can't just say, okay, uh, we're going to impeach Bill Clinton and he's out of office. That doesn't work that way. We only had one, and that was very serious. That was Richard Nixon and Watergate.
And he quit.
This blows Watergate out of the water.
It does. Richard Nixon knew he was going to be impeached because Richard Nixon, the difference between then and now, is that the Republicans did not want to be associated with Richard Nixon after he was caught. This is a very different Republican Party. Richard Nixon resigned because he knew Republicans would vote for his impeachment. We
Right.
know that this spineless Republican Party is not going to vote for Donald Trump's impeachment. Okay, they would have to make a major shift. Okay, in their thought process, they really
And
would.
honestly, the tariffs, the tariffs are the major shift that may actually push.
Let's see.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. Honestly, on camera, I'll say that this is my opinion because Donald Trump knows how to play the push-pull game. The problem is too is that the impeachment process depends on the current legislators or legislators. There needs to be some kind of independent investigatory process because this is not normal.
No, it isn't. It isn't normal. And by the way, we have to get to the point where we don't have legislators worried about getting reelected or primary because they stood against the tyrant. That's really
Right.
what this is all about. He
And
threatens
by the
them with
way,
primary.
it's not just about the legislators. It's about the press and the people within government, within the State Department, within the DOJ, within wherever. And it's about institutions like or colleges. They should be able to work independently. Also, governors. What Janet Mills is doing, as Deb said before, is exactly what you're supposed to do. And I don't want governors or House reps or anyone in government to be afraid to do anything.
Right.
And make no mistake, that fire on Josh Shapiro's house,
That was arson.
that's arson, and that's designed to make him afraid. Now, I don't know. And, oh, I'm going to plug your Deb's going to do a little video on what happens when people tell her not to say certain things. So get get ready for that one. But I'm going to give you a teaser. Gretchen Whitmer, maybe Gretchen Whitmer is scared. She was part of a freaking kidnapping plot. Who knows? But if she is scared, she needs to leave office. In all honesty, if you can't do your job,
If you
and
can't,
by the way,
you need courage now. We need people with courage
yeah,
now. We need people willing to stand up to Donald Trump. That's what we need. We, the people, need to demand that of our elected officials. That's what we expect of them. We expect them to support us. Us. We put them there. We expect them to stand up for the people.
not try to shut the people up.
Right. Okay, gang. We're off. We will see
Yeah.
you next week. Have a good one.